I'm going to call to order the Delta Protection Commission meeting of Thursday, September the 16th, 2021. And I thank all those who've joined with us. I'm going to turn to Stacy in just a moment and have her call the roll. But before that, why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance flag salute? And I believe we can get the flag up on the screen. And Commissioner Vasquez, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great.
I can do that. Please join me in a pledge to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Like
United
the
States.
United States of America.
You know,
The
you
Republic
do these and you never get in sequence.
which stands one nation,
Nations
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
That was pretty good. There wasn't much reverb on that, Mr. Vasquez. That was pretty good. So, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for putting the flag up. So with that, we've duly started the meeting, and you know, I know we have some guests with us, some guest presenters, and maybe others that are joining us for the first time. But if not, if you're regularly joined and attend the meetings, we appreciate your attendance and encourage your participation as we go through the meeting. Before I have Stacy call the roll, just let me note too that we see some of that up on the screen, but I wanted to put in the record as authorized by the Governor's executive orders. We are meeting today remotely via Zoom. Members of the public can also join by telephone by calling the 1-888-363-4734 phone number and then entering the teleconference code or conference code 388754. This information is located on top of the meeting agenda, and all of the meeting materials are located at www.delta.ca.gov. And for public comment, as you'll see on the screen, I won't be redundant, just please raise your hand, Peter, on the Zoom. If you join us by telephone, just press 2, indicate you'd like to make a public comment. And Stacy, our clerk, will, and Erik will be watching for that, and we'll do our best to incorporate your comments and take them as we go through the agenda. So thank you again, everyone, for participation. We've been doing this remotely now for some time, and we look forward to the day when we can once again convene in session and see people in person. But we're working hard to make this successful for all the people that are involved. So with that, then I'm going to turn to our commission clerk, Stacy Hayden, who will call the roll to formally establish a quorum. Stacy.
Great, thank you. Chair Nottoli.
Here.
Vice Chair Wynn.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas.
Here.
Commissioner Burgess.
Here.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Here.
Commissioner Fuller.
Here.
Commissioner Steele.
He'll
He
be
did let
absent.
us know that he was not going to be able to attend today. Commissioner Nakanishi.
Here.
Commissioner Paroli.
Here.
Commissioner Slater.
Here.
Commissioner Musi. Commissioner Agar.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eddy.
He will
And
be
Commissioner-
absent today.
Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
Commissioner Bush.
Here.
And ex officio Senator Eggman.
She will not be attending.
And ex officio Assembly Member Frazier.
Present.
Thank you. And Chair Nottoli, we do have a quorum established with 12 commission members and 1 ex officio member.
Well, great. Thank you all for attending, and certainly want to extend welcome to Assemblymember Frazier, and thank you for joining us. And also welcome, even though she's not with us today at this meeting, Senator Eggman as the newest ex officio member. We look forward to her participation in future meetings. Also want to just once again offer congratulations to Jenny Lester Moffett, who has served with the commission for a significant period of time. She has been confirmed by the U.S. Senate as the new United States Department of Agriculture Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs. And we want to express our thanks in addition to congratulations to her for her service on this commission, and wish her well in her new duties in Washington, D.C. So with that, any other announcements, Erik, that I should be aware of before we go to the public comment portion?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Okay, commission members, and we'll move to item 3, which is public comment for any items not on the agenda. And just would note that I limit those comments to 3 minutes or so. And I don't know if we have, Stacy, anybody raise their hand, anybody that's indicated through the telephone that they want to address the commission?
Sorry. At this moment, I don't see any hands raised in Zoom. Or by
Anybody
phone.
over to, yeah, nobody over by telephone? Okay. All right. With that, I trust we'll have some comments though on some of the items as we go down to the agenda. So nextly, then moving down to item 4 is just a very brief report. Delta Stewardship Council activities. Would note the council will be in session, and actually we'll hear from Jessica Pearson, the executive director, a little later on in the agenda, along with Campbell Ingram from the Conservancy. But last month, several items on the agenda, but one of the items that was certainly of interest and will continue to be of interest was the Delta levies investment strategy and the rulemaking that goes along with the proposed regulation. And the council in its action advanced that, started the process.
Do that.
I'm sorry.
No, that was just someone who should have been muted.
Oh,
Please
okay.
proceed.
All right. At any rate, so and again, if there were any specific questions, again, I'll try to answer them. But we're fortunate we have Jessica Pearson here who could certainly give more background. That's been in the works for a number of years, and I know that certainly this commission weighed in, and we heard from other Delta stakeholders regarding some of the progress that made, but also some of the concerns that remain relative to the strategy and some of its components. And then I would just note that we are in session next Thursday, the 23rd of September, and we'll be hearing, in addition to talking about some of the, well, we hear from Delta Watermaster, excuse me, and then also we hear about Delta Reform Act requirements for council's review and advice regarding the metropolitan transportation plans and sustainable community strategies for Bay Area for ABAG's plan. So that's on our agenda for next week. There will also be some other reports, but in brief, I know there was interest by the commission, and Erik may want to talk to it in his ED report as well, but on the Delta levy investment strategy, which obviously will be a topic for discussion in the months to come too. Okay, that's all I had. I don't know if there's any questions of commission members on anything I briefly reported on, but if not, we'll keep moving down the agenda. Okay. All right, then Chair gave a brief report. I'm going to turn my item 5, commissioner comments and announcements. So this is an opportunity, and we certainly can do this at the conclusion of the meeting if there are any other announcements, but is there anything that commission members and any comments or announcements you'd like to make at this point in the agenda?
Mr. Chair, this is Dennis Agar.
Yes,
Commissioner.
Dennis.
If you don't mind, I'd like
Go
to
ahead,
give
sure.
an update. Just first of all, I appreciate Executive Director Erik sending out the updated Delta region map of all our construction projects that are coming up or ongoing. So hopefully everybody received that latest update. Thank you, Erik, for sending it out to everyone. The only other update I'd like to provide is our efforts on Clean California. I know that in District 10, we do have a point person that I have appointed to work with all our local partners in the communities in regards to whether it's local or state beautification projects and other litter abatement opportunities. One of the things that are coming up, just for everyone's information, and I will try to send out the link to this information, is the local grant workshops that we've held. We already held one. We have another one coming up on October 7th, and you would have to register for that. And this is all for the local partners with the county and the cities who are maybe interested of getting funding to do beautification projects in your area. So if you're aware of that, and again, I'll send it through the chat, the website you can go to register. We are also working on state beautification projects in each of our districts across the state. And along with this is looking for opportunities on a larger effort on litter abatement, such as providing a more expansion on our Adopt the Highway program. Just for everybody's information, we even have a stipend that's now allowed with the Clean California program, where we are providing like a $250 per month stipend for those who volunteer to adopt a segment of our highways throughout the state. So we're looking for that expansion, looking for more volunteers, and those who are interested can contact my point of person in District 10. His name is Sam Sherman. Again, I'll send out through the chat his contact information. Along with this, we continue to hire entry-level maintenance positions and building up crews in order to, again, expand our litter abatement across the state. And so in the Delta region, I'm sure there's areas in there that we like to focus on, and we're looking to hire, and we have our, what we call service assistant maintenance positions that's been advertised. And as a matter of fact, there's another opportunity. We're doing a mass hiring event on October 6th that will cover both the SAM positions, and then also we're also expanding for our winter hires and snow operations up in the mountains. So wanted to share that. And again, more information and that you would like to know, please contact our person in District 10, Sam Sherman. And again, the local grant workshop, if you're interested in attending that and understanding the requirements and guidelines. There's only $296 million that's going to be spread out throughout the whole state. And so right now, there's no like formula on how it gets allocated. So my best suggestion is to get in early for submittal so that it be considered for approval and then move forward. Stop there. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to give that update.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Diane. Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know if you could say, I just wanted to compliment Commissioner Agar. Your communication has been really, really good, and I appreciate it. Your information helps my office be able to communicate better. And so I just wanted to thank you for all the hard work you're doing.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Diane. I would echo your comments. We have some others. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, this is Jim Frazier.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to give an update, and first of all, I want to thank the commission for their kind words at the last meeting on our allocation for $12 million in the commercial abatement. That was hard won and several years of effort, but we asked for $30 million and we were able to secure 12. And with a real positive outcome, we'll be able to work towards another funding mechanism in the next budget. But people are engaged. We are keeping our nose to the grindstone on it, and to make sure that Cal Recycle and the local agencies are collaborating to make sure that these vessels are put in priority and moved out of the Delta and possibly harming the Delta. Also, I just wanted to give an update on the waning hours of session. A trailer bill manifested itself, SB 155, and basically what we do is when we see these trailer bills coming at the end of session, we try to dissect them because there's insertions of different kinds of possibilities. And there was one that was quite alarming, and it was the CEQA exemption of habitat restoration, and for 3 years. And my spidey senses went up when I saw that as a prelude to possibly being a clearinghouse for the Delta conveyance or the tunnel. And I called Erik and we collaborated on that and worked through some issues, and I got some suggestions with him. I was a holdout on the vote, and a lot of you know that if you do that and you are kind of a holdout, you're suspect to punishment from leadership. But we were able to, I was able to get Director Bonnet on the phone, and he gave me assurances that there will be no projects in the California Delta with this exemption. It's for mostly the Ducks Unlimited and California waterfowl to do their work in primarily the drought-stricken areas of California, so they can react fast to it. We're going to track it. We're keeping our eyes and ears open, but I felt comfortable and went up on the vote afterwards that Director Bonnet and my speaker gave me assurances that nothing would be happening. But I want to commend Erik, our director, for his collaboration with me to make sure that I got the wording right. So we had that assertion, nothing would open the doors for the tunnel.
Thanks to Assemblymember Frazier. Appreciate your leadership, and hopefully you didn't get punished too severely for being at least an initial holdout on it. So, but we appreciate your efforts. So.
Thank you.
And then just sort of Commissioner Agard, thank you. I would echo Commissioner Burgess's comments. Very appreciative of the information, both the information sharing, certainly the efforts to clean up our roadways and in public areas of use that are under the Caltrans jurisdiction. And I kind of chuckled when I heard you say that under the local grant program, only 296 million. I'm thinking, I know it's a big state, but that's still a pretty good chunk of money, and will hopefully allow folks in local communities, and including in the Delta, to have opportunity to compete for that. But appreciate the map and coordination with local public works departments, and certainly sharing with this commission and its members, and allowing us to get that information out to other interested parties. I think it helps address some of the frustration that we've heard in years past, and I know you've taken that seriously, so thank you for that. Let me turn to commissioners. Others want to either weigh in on comments made thus far, or make other comments. I can't see anybody, Erik, so you have to tell me you're Stacy.
No, there are currently no hands raised.
Okay, good. Thank both of you for sharing, and appreciate your efforts in respective issue areas that you're talking to. So, okay, with that, if there's nothing further, we can certainly conclude if there's anything someone thinks of. But let's get down to our consent agenda, which is fairly light. It just includes the minutes of both July 15 and August 5th meetings, and will require a roll call vote when we have a motion. But let me ask first, any additions, modifications, or amendments to the minutes as presented?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, hearing none, then a motion would be in order, and then we'll take public comment if there is any.
So moved.
Okay. By Diane. Have a second?
It's John Vasquez. I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Burgess and seconded by Vasquez. Any hands up or any public comments, clerk?
No, there are none.
Okay. With that, then, nothing further, back to the commission, then we'll go ahead and call for roll call vote on the consent calendar.
Chair Nottoli,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nguyen,
Yes.
Commissioner Villegas,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Nakanishi, Commissioner Nakanishi. Okay, we'll come back. Commissioner Paroli,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater,
Aye.
Commissioner Agar,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogel,
Aye.
Commissioner Bush,
Aye.
and coming back around to Commissioner Nakanishi. Okay, well, Chair Nottoli, right now we do have 11 yeses. One commissioner that is unable to answer, 0 no's and 0 abstains.
Okay, through the chair, I would just hold open if Commissioner Nakanishi looked like he was attempting to register a vote. So I would, again, we have sufficient number for approval, but while we're receiving the executive director's report, if Commissioner Nakanishi is able to connect, would like to cast a vote, I'll just hold the vote open on that for a moment and go down to item 7. And at the conclusion of the executive director's report, if we haven't heard from Commissioner Nakanishi, then I'll close the vote and we can announce the action on that. Okay. All right. Thank you, Stacy. Okay, so we'll hold the vote open for a moment on the item 6 consent calendar for Commissioner Nakanishi, and then I'll go to item 7 in the intervening time here and ask our executive director, Mr. Vink, to give us his report, please.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair and commission members. Let me add a little bit on to what is in my written report. First off, the Delta Conveyance Project. The soil investigations are in different parts of the Delta. Those are resuming again after a springtime pause. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we continue to work with the Corps of Engineers on their Section 106 process, the National Historic Preservation Act. And 4 of the Delta counties, the ones that would have most impacts, have joined in that effort. So we will be teaming up together and working with the Corps. And we hope to have a kickoff meeting with the Corps soon. We're going to be reaching out to them very shortly. They're always a bit overextended with their work, but we want to get them focused on this so we have a meaningful opportunity to have a Section 106 consultation effort. Switching gears to the Delta National Heritage Area, we conducted public workshops in Benicia on August 30th and Walnut Grove on August 31st. And thanks to Chair Nottoli for attending the session on August 31st. This was a bit of an experiment for us. These were in-person, fully masked events. And we had about 20 or so people at each one. It was great to receive input, a good opportunity for our consultant team to hear directly from interested parties throughout the Delta. And it really queued up the next round of our work, which we discussed with our National Heritage Area Advisory Committee when we met last week on September 9th. We talked about draft themes, the task groups work, and initiated conversation about a partnership plan. The Commission will be hearing a lot more about the National Heritage Area at future meetings. Look out, this was the Department of Water Resources Habitat Restoration Project in Solano County that was its certification of consistency for Delta Plan consistency was appealed by a number of parties. The Commission participated in that proceeding. The Commission back in July formally approved comments that I had prepared on behalf of the Commission staff. And although Chair Nottoli alluded to this on August 5th, not all of our commissioners were at that meeting when we met to consider a position on SB 821, the Delta Independent Science Board legislation. And so I just want to announce that the Delta Stewardship Council did sustain some of the appeal arguments. That's probably not the most accurate terminology, and Jessica Pearson will certainly correct me later. But the important thing to note is that they did remand the project back to DWR on those issues. And those issues included recreation concerns that were voiced by the commission in our comments, as well as by appellant Liberty Island Access. Moving on to broadband in the Delta, I want to give a hearty thank you to Program Manager Virginia Gardner. She worked with a number of partners, including the City of Ileton, Sacramento and Yolo counties, the Clarksburg Fire Protection District, and the internet service provider Digital Path Inc. They all worked together to submit a broadband grant to the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. It would help improve broadband access, excuse me, for 2,600 households in the Sacramento River Delta communities that we serve. These are areas that are very deficient in high-speed internet at present. There's more details about this grant in the staff report. I want to particularly acknowledge Chair Nottoli and the support that his office provided for this effort to ensure that we had the right firepower to get a grant submitted in time. It was a very tight timeline, but it was submitted, and we should know the outcome by November 15th. More to come on that at the next commission meeting. Our annual Best of the Delta contest, there's 2 pages at the conclusion of my written report in the meeting packet that lists the winners in 18 different categories. Big thank you to Commission Information Officer Stacy Hayden for spearheading this effort. And we had a big jump in voting this year, which is very gratifying. And we always have a lot of good appreciation from the people who were recognized in those different categories. So I'd encourage you to take a look for the categories. Sadly, one of our category winners, Justy's Restaurant, I think most people on the call know, but Justy's suffered a catastrophic fire last week and burned entirely. The restaurant is no longer. For those of you who knew Justy's, that's a real sad event to report. Pretty legendary spot throughout the Delta, and we extend our best wishes and our sad thoughts to the Marias family. Fortunately, no one was injured in that fire, but the building was a total loss. Moving on to the Great Delta Trail Master Plan, we'll have a meeting with our stakeholder and technical advisory committees tomorrow. That's a meeting to review the draft master plan, which will help us determine what additional tweaks we need to make to that plan. We plan to discuss that with the Delta Protection Advisory Committee on November 2nd and anticipate bringing that to the commission at the November 18th meeting to get the commission's blessing on releasing it for public review. And we're eyeing the January 2022 meeting for bringing it back for commission consideration, but we will certainly see how this review process works. Delta Waterway Cleanup is this Saturday, September 18th. Keep writing September 16th, that's today's date. We'll have locations in all 5 Delta counties. This is part of the statewide Coastal Cleanup Day. And I want to thank Regional San for providing a small donation to help us provide some neck bandanas, buffs I'm told they're called, for our participants. And if we have extra ones and any commission members would like one of those, we'll send those around too. This Saturday from 9 to noon. The Delta Leadership Program 2022, this is not in my written report, but in conversation with the Delta Regional Foundation, we are prepared to move forward with a program in 2022. We will revert back to our earlier schedule and initiate this in January with the hope that by January, we'll be able to convene a group of about 20 safely. And we think we can do it and we will plan to recruit beginning in October and extending into November for initiating a program, probably about the time that the commission will meet in January of 2022. So more details on that to come. Finally, there were a few land use comment letters. There are upcoming events in the Delta. There's updates on other projects that I did not mention. And there's a report on our budget year to date that are also included in my written report. I don't plan to address those unless commission members have any questions. And then finally, I did want to key off of what Assemblyman Frazier mentioned earlier with Senate Bill 155. This was a budget trailer bill that came together toward the very end of the legislative session. And as he indicated, a provision in that trailer bill would exempt habitat restoration projects from CEQA. There is concern that this provision might also affect the Delta Stewardship Council review of projects for consistency under the Delta Plan, projects that would take advantage of that exemption and habitat projects that would be located within the Delta. As Assemblymember Frazier alluded to, there is a role for the Director of the Department of Fish and Wildlife to play. That's the official that will grant the exemptions and provide the rationale for doing so. And then, you know, I think this whole issue of habitat restoration projects proceeding, I know it's certainly been part of an initiative at the Natural Resources Agency, the Cutting Green Tape Initiative. I got very curious today and went back and reviewed those provisions, the recommendations. I didn't see anything in the recommendations that was quite at the level of a full-on CEQA exemption for habitat restoration projects. So it would be interesting to hear the rationale for why that provision made its way into the budget trailer bill. But I'm heartened by what Assemblymember Frazier reported about the assurance that he received from the Fish and Wildlife Director. And I hope that we will certainly know well in advance before any of this is, you know, any of these exemptions show up as a fait accompli. So more to come on that, but I did want to call that out. It wasn't in my written report. It's kind of a late breaking item, but I did want to call it out for the commission's attention.
Eric, and if I might add, through the chair, Eric, if I might add, also, I just got a text from Chuck Bonham. He did assure me that if there was going to be a project in the Delta under this exemption, he would call me first. So I just want to make that very clear. That is what his promise was to me.
That's great. Thank you. And I had nothing else, Mr. Chair, but I do know that Commissioner Vogel has her hand raised.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'll go with Nancy and then other commissioners as well. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Nottoli.
Yeah.
I just want to make the comment that the purpose of the language, the CEQA exemption, is strictly for habitat restoration projects, and it has nothing to do with the Delta Conveyance project. And it's to get projects moving that we know we need as we adapt to climate change.
Thank you, Commissioner Vogel. Okay, other commissioners on that topic or anything else that was covered or that you wanted to ask the Executive Director about? Yes, Stacy?
There are no other hands raised.
Anybody on the phone? Okay, well, again, and thank you, Eric, and just note, moving back to one item to cover, certainly the best of Delta and the outreach on that. And good to see good participation, but I think if you just look at that list, of course, as you mentioned, unfortunate situation with Juicy's, but a lot of attractions, a lot of things to see and do and partake in, and some of them were multiple winners in some of the categories. Pretty good smattering from throughout the Delta region. Appreciative of the Commission's efforts to bring that forward. So certainly on the leadership class, I know that's, you know, really does, you know, continue to build stewardship and understanding of the Delta. They're 2022. All right. Any commissioner? If not, any member of the public? Stacy?
No, there are currently no hands raised.
Okay, this is an opportunity. Anybody on the phone or on Zoom that would like to weigh in? If not,
Hello,
oh,
this
Matt.
is Matt Conover. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Matt. Okay, go ahead. This is Chair Nottoli. Go right ahead, Matt.
My version of Zoom doesn't have a raise your hand button.
Okay.
I'm concerned about tracking down a bill that was introduced by Wood just about the time the legislature closed for the COVID. It was to indemnify habitat project developers from destruction and death caused downstream by their projects if there was flooding. That has direct, important, demonstrated importance for the Mokelumne and the Cosumnes rivers, which had pretty high volume pressures, tore buildings off, slammed them into bridges, flooded this area on Twin Cities Road 15 feet deep and closed I-5 for weeks, and flooded the Point Pleasant area and up into Reclamation District above here, 1002. I don't know who introduced it to him, but the Delta Stewardship Council got a presentation from the Nature Conservancy at the Cosumnes Refuge several years ago, in which they wanted governor to exempt them with introducing a bill into the legislature and to appoint a permit czar to fast track all their bulldozers to break down levees around here so that they could flood the marshes, the orchards and vineyards, turn it back into marsh. And it's in the Delta plan as Cosumnes watershed being one that could be restored to its original floodplain functions. There's 52 landowners in our reclamation district here, west of I-5. It extends east over to Franklin Boulevard, where the DCA has now consolidated its launch shaft area. But the Cosumnes runs parallel to Twin Cities Road all the way to Galt and up into the mountains foothills, and is now even more of a problem potentially because of the fires that went south from Highway 50 and might still be burning up there at River Pines. That will be interfering with the absorptive capability of the landscape, enabling storms that are forecasted to be coming more extreme to hit the soil in those slopes and rush a lot of soil down into the rivers, filling those and causing more flooding than we've seen in the past. Therefore, I'd like to get some help from somebody in tracking down that bill and squelching it. If it's already passed, which exempted those parties from the impacts, death and destruction downstream, if there was an approval by the head of the habitat section or the commissioner of fish and game, but they don't have hydrologic capabilities there. Their goal stated in their mission statement is to create habitat. So there's no way he's gonna cast off and deny projects. And so like some public hearings down in this part of the country, explain all this to the people in Point Pleasant who got evacuated by boat and helicopter when it flooded 2017.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thank you for your comments. Maybe I could, through chair, ask Erik, could you track down that legislation and get Matt's contact information? Doesn't have to give it over to the Zoom here, but maybe Matt, you could email it to Erik and we can see. Again, there's a legislative digest where folks can take a look. I'm not aware of the legislation. I heard the reference, and it maybe we could at least track it and then be responsive to the status of it, and have Erik assist you in that way if that's okay.
Okay.
Erik, are you all right with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've made a note of that, and I do know how to reach Matt, so.
Oh, you do? Okay, good. Okay, thanks again, Matt. Appreciate your comments. Thanks, Erik. Do we have other commenters or?
I believe Commissioner Wynn just had to rejoin, so I think he might just be
Okay.
having some connection
Okay.
problems. There are currently no other hands raised, but you might want to call for people to speak up if they can't raise their hand.
Yeah, let me do that again. So if you don't have a raise hand capability on your phone or Zoom, just speak up here if you want to address the commission on the executive director's report.
No, I apologize. I was in my car originally. I just turned to my computer, so sorry for the glitch up. And I don't think there's an echo anymore. Is that correct?
No, we can hear you really well. You're loud and clear, Mr. Wynn.
Okay, thank you. And I'll sign off again. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? All right, I think that takes us through public comment on the ED report again. Thank you, Erik, for all the updates. Before I go to item 8, just let me return back to item 6. Commissioner Nakanishi, were you able to connect, and did you want to cast a vote on the minutes? Stacy, can you hear?
It sounds like there's some kind of sound coming through, but not his voice, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
there you are. Okay, ask him the question and get a quick vote.
Commissioner Nakanishi, we are looking for your vote on item number 6, approval of the July and August meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Appreciate your patience, and thank you, Stacy. Okay, so we can now, what is the vote on that?
That
Stacy?
is 12 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstains.
Okay, very good. Okay. Matters, the minutes were approved. Okay, thanks. Okay, let's keep moving then to our agenda. I know we've got some presenters here, so we'll take us to item 8, which is the report from the Delta Protection Advisory Committee, and Mark Pruner is going to do the honors again today. So Mark, welcome, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Nottoli and members of the commission. Your advisory committee met on September 16. We had a quorum, which hasn't been much of an issue at all for quite a while now. We met the full 2-hour time frame. And again, we had a lot of folks from the public and others that attended that I think would not have attended or been able to participate if we had an in-person meeting, which is great. We welcomed a new member from California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Stacy Sherman. She's an environmental program manager. She's substituting in, I think, short-term for Jim Starr, who has provided service on the committee for a very long time, but who is just about fully retired. We had a really good report from the Stewardship Council through Russ Stanbra, and I want to thank Jessica for loaning us. Ryan Stanbra. Ryan gave a really good report. He answered questions. He gave us a briefing, which I'm guessing will generally mirror to a large degree what Jessica may report on later to the commission. And it was just really helpful to have somebody in leadership from the council to be with us and to give us an update and engage us in discussion on Stewardship Council activities. So I hope that continues. We invited Ryan to come back again, and he said he was interested in doing that. Then we spent a lot of time, I believe our third time, talking with representatives from Bureau of Reclamation about the Delta Cross Channel project at Walnut Grove. The quick background is that the cross channel gates were built in the 50s. They're showing some signs of deterioration. The Bureau has decided that they want to engage in a restoration project or repair project, but while they're at it, they're looking at other options to either improve the flow, to improve the operation of the gates, to communicate better with the public, and just make it a better project. And so they outline 5 different project ideas that they're really just at the idea stage at the moment. The timing of those, the engagement for the public, the impact on folks around them, et cetera. It was helpful, and hopefully that if it comes further along, which I think it will, then that report in some detail might make it to the commission. After that, I had some conversation with gentleman Craig Moyle with Stantec, one of the contractors, suggesting other places that they could go in the community. Specifically, I asked that they consider going to the Walnut Grove Rotary Club, talk to some of the marinas and the people that operate boats in the area that would be directly impacted by the project, and I think they're gonna do that. Then we had a great report by Erik. It's similar to what you heard, and we really appreciate Erik and his standing agenda item for us, where he just kind of runs through the activities of the staff, and we just have discussion and questions, and so I think that's really helpful. All in all, I think the meeting went well. We provided input to the folks that came before us, and we're just glad to be able to be of service to the commission. And that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for your committee members as well. And I would ask fellow commissioners any questions or comments about committee's activities or anything that Mark.
There are no commissioner hands raised, but Barbara Daly does have her hand raised.
Okay, very good. One of our members. All right, we'll turn to Barbara. Barbara, welcome.
You're muted, Barbara.
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Nottoli. And thank you, Mark. I'm the vice chair of the Delta Protection Advisory Committee, and I'd just like to add on to Mark's report and say that I think it would be very important that this project from the Bureau of Reclamation makes it to the front of the commission and it is presented directly to you. When I heard the report, the first thing I thought of was how the federal government withdrew their involvement with the state water board hearings for the Twin Tunnels when Governor Brown was in position, saying that they supported the no alternative project. That was their choice. However, this project sounds very similar to Alternative 9. It could morph into something very similar. And the BDCP Twin Tunnels Alternative 9. I just wanted to alert you of this so that you'll be aware. They did stress the recreational benefits of this project, and that saying that if they do remote, if they remotely handle these gates, they would put signals in to let people know, the boaters, that these gates are going up and down, and this would protect them. When I asked the question of how many people have been hurt by the gates, the response was none. When I questioned further, they said that actually they thought we would like to hear more about the recreational benefits. That's why they focused on them. But actually nobody's ever been hurt by these gates. So I just wanted to alert you that I think it'd be very important that this presentation be brought in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate your comments and your report and elaboration on what was presented. Okay, any other?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, so no other members of the public, any commission members, then last call. All right, with that then certainly we thank our Protection Advisory Committee for Delta Protection Advisory Committee for their ongoing work and their attendance and participation. And Erik, you'll continue to coordinate with them. And I think to the point about the Bureau of Reclamation, if there is something that appropriately needs to come before the commission, whatever time, I know you'll work with through the chair and on scheduling something if that's appropriate. So, okay. All right, very good. Thanks again to everyone. And so we're going to keep moving down the agenda. This time we're on now at item 9, and we have some guest presenters, and we have Ms. Jessica Pearson from the Stewardship Council, Executive Director, and Mr. Campbell Ingram, the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta Conservancy, the Executive Director, and appreciate them setting time aside today to speak to the commission and to our audience. And I know that there's been a bit of time since the Stewardship Council reported to us, or at least in this fashion, and even a longer bit of time since we had the report from the Conservancy, but there's constant interaction. I'm certainly aware of that. And know that Erik works with his colleagues in their respective positions. And I think this is good, just as he shares in different venues for them to come to commission and share with commissioners and certainly with interested parties. So I don't know if there's any particular order here. Jessica, will you tab to lead it off? And I don't know if Erik, you want to make any opening comments, but otherwise we'll jump right in.
If you don't mind, I'll go first because I have a kid to pick up from school in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay, well, we're going to accommodate that. So go right ahead, Ms. Jessica.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you, Erik and Chair Nottoli, for inviting me to present today. And I want to acknowledge what Mark Pruner said. Thank you for your kind words about our participation at the advisory committee. Happy to continue that when and where it's helpful. I can report that the Delta Council has had an active past few months as we continue to move forward on the items on our work plan. First, I'll the rulemaking that both Erik and the chair talked about. The council has spent a few years developing the Delta Levees Investment Priority Project. This was in response to a legislative directive to do so. At our August meeting, the council approved moving the project to the next phase, which is a formal rulemaking process. Between 2016 and 2021, the regulation changed considerably based on stakeholder and agency feedback. The most significant change being that instead of directly regulating funding decisions for levee projects, the regulation requires that DWR file a report on their funding decisions with the council. The staff report, the proposed regulation, and the related materials are all located on our website for the public to view. That's at deltacouncil.ca.gov/ or / I should say, public-participation, but you can also easily navigate there from our homepage. We anticipate circulating draft rulemaking documents this winter and then holding a public workshop in early 2022. So I certainly invite your participation, your continued participation in that next step in the process. We're also working hard on Delta Adapts, which is what we call the council's climate change study for the Delta. We finished the first phase of this effort, a vulnerability assessment, earlier this year, and we have moved on to planning for development of an adaptation strategy. That's phase 2. The vulnerability assessment evaluates the vulnerability of the Delta and the Sassoon Marsh to climate impacts, including but not limited to sea level rise, rising temperatures, and changing hydrology. And we take a look at those impacts through the end of the century. Second phase is the development of an adaptation strategy, which is actually going to be made up of a range of policy and management actions that could be taken both by the council or by other agencies, in particular by local governments, that could improve regional resilience to climate change. So to summarize our current work on Delta Adapts and our next steps, we're finalizing the scope and the broad approach to the adaptation strategy now. This is going to be based on an evaluation of multiple scenarios that look at combinations of impacts to agriculture, ecosystem, flood management, and water supply, and the adaptation actions that could be taken to mitigate or avoid those impacts. We're developing focus groups of local experts to consider and propose actions, and that will include, of course, an invitation to the DPC. And we plan to include tools that can help visualize trade-offs that help prioritize future actions that could be taken by state and local agencies. We also have an established separate stakeholder working group that's now been helping us for over 2 years. That includes a range of different entities, including local government planning representatives from cities and counties in the Delta, who are going to be really key in connecting the outcomes of this project to the needs of local governments and their plans and planning processes. So we're anticipating completing this within 2 years. Of course, that always depends on the council's regulatory calendar, but that's our anticipated plan right now. And then quickly, we've been working on a draft programmatic environmental impact report for an ecosystem amendment to the Delta Plan. The content of that amendment was developed over the course of a couple years, and it's really just been this last year that we've been putting together the environmental impact report. We're almost ready to release that environmental impact report, anticipated September 27th, for a comment period that will go through the end of November. And we will be talking about this item on our November 18th council agenda. And that's also a time for us to hear public comments on the EIR. That's about all I have for now. Lots of activity happening in our science program as well. I could go on a range of other issues, but I think I've summarized our major efforts here, particularly those relevant to the commission's interests. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. So let me turn to commissioners. It's your opportunity to ask Jessica anything you want to know about the council, past, present, and future. So. Hands up, Stacy.
I have no hands raised.
Any public commenters on this item? I know Jessica has a.
This is Matt Conover.
Oh, okay. Hang on just a minute, Matt. Okay, let me make just a moment. Okay, if there's no commissioners, then I'll go to members of the public. Not for necessarily a question and answers, but if you have questions to pose, certainly, yeah, we can put them out there, let you comment on this. So go ahead, Mr. Conover.
I read the Delta DAPS Part 1. It was excellent technical work and well justified in the numbers and inventory of assets that are out here. Not real deep into the agricultural assets and not, well, it was. We're worried about phase 2. If you're doing an EIR on the program, could you please include the socioeconomic impacts of big landscape restoration projects proposed? The ideas that were put forth in phase 1 about farmers adapting their crop mix to respond to saltwater seemed a little naive. Nothing about market demand for pickleweed or whatever is salt tolerant for when that seawater comes up over those low levees in the center of the Delta closer to Antioch. And we don't want to be the justification for breaking down levees. Right now, the Delta levee, well, a couple of years ago when I read it, the Delta levee investment strategy had to do with prioritizing all priority 1 levees to get full funding before any priority 2 got any funding, and the Nature Conservancy across the river to the south got priority 1. So habitat protection of DWR, jointly held property with the Nature Conservancy, was going to get all the money and we were going to get nothing because there wasn't enough money to go around. And we'd get flooded out eventually with the sea level rise projections. It'll take a while, but could you please include those kinds of impacts? Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for your comments. Jessica, did you want to respond in any way or just note the comments?
And just to say that's helpful feedback. There's still lots of time to shape the adaptation strategy. We're just getting started. If there's interest in participating in those focus groups, please contact us and we can talk more there.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Okay, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Jessica. Other commenters, Stacy?
No hands raised.
Back to the commission. Last chance before Jessica goes picks the child up from school. Jessica, if I could just real quickly on the Delta Independent Science Board, could you just touch real quickly? I think that issue been pretty well resolved, and I think it'll complement the work of council, commission, and Conservancy, and certainly other aspects. Anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I mean, the bill to clarify the council's authority to compensate the independent science board members as contractors as opposed to employees has, my understanding at my last check, moved on to the governor's desk. So we await his action, and then either way, the ISB continues to meet. They had a productive meeting today, but hopefully we can get them paid back by the hour again and continue to rely on their work.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, if nothing further for Jessica, thank you so much for being with us today, and appreciate the updates, and we'll invite you back again in the not too distant future, and certainly feel free, as I'm sure you do, to if you think there's something that rises to the occasion, to either through the chair or through Mr. Vink.
I have one more comment for Jessica.
I'm
before
sorry.
she leaves.
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I forgot to add that the Delta plan itself, despite having just gone through its 5-year review, should be amended to take the Cosumnes River floodplain restoration projects out. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Matt. So noted. Thank you. Okay. Again, thank you, Jessica. And
Thank you.
Mr.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay. All right. Then with that, appreciate the public input. We're going to turn to Mr. Ingram, Campbell. And it's been a bit of time since we've had a chance to have you present to the commission, so we welcome you back.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Chair Nottoli and commissioners. It is always fun to give an update, and I appreciate the opportunity. Also want to thank Chair Nottoli. For those of you that don't know, Chair Nottoli was elected to be the chair of the Delta Conservancy just at our July board meeting. So we want to thank him for doing triple duty between the Stewardship Council, the DPC, and the Delta Conservancy. We appreciate it. I'm going to just kind of run through our program updates and then happy to answer any questions. I'm going to start with our Proposition 68 program. So Proposition 68 allocated $12 million to the Conservancy. The board determined that we would direct that funding to recreation, tourism, access, and historic preservation projects. So we're happy to say that as of today, the board has approved 2 projects. One is park improvements for a park out on the waterfront outside of Pittsburgh, and the other is is a planning project for the Southport Levee paved bike trail that's on the new setback levee just outside of West Sac. So that trail will connect West Sacramento to the Delta. We have a board meeting coming up on October 28th, and we anticipate bringing 3 more Proposition 68 projects to the board at that meeting, and then likely another 3 projects for board consideration at our January meeting. So it's great to see that that program is really starting to move and is bringing really valuable projects that help the help the Delta. Shifting a little bit to our Proposition 1 program, you may recall that Proposition 1 provided $50 million to the Delta Conservancy for ecosystem restoration, water quality, and agricultural sustainability projects that relate to water in the system. Over the course of the past several years, we've approved 29 projects out on the landscape and expending about $39 million of that funding. We just closed our 5th and likely final solicitation for that funding. It was concept proposals were due on August 31st, and we received 11 proposals requesting $12 million. So we will provide feedback on those concept proposals. We'll request that the applicants provide their full proposals to us by December 15th. If you remember, we do extensive review of those proposals to include review of the applicants' assertions of local support and their letters of support. We notify all of over 130 entities about those projects so that we We ensure that people understand those projects and know that they are happening. So local support is a really big component of that, as well as obviously providing significant ecological benefits and uplift in the Delta. So the expectation is that we would be bringing recommendations to our board at our May 2022 meeting, so next May, and then hopefully they would be approving those projects. I wanted to highlight the Delta Interagency Invasive Species Coordination Team. This team has been working for a long time, trying to look at invasive species issues in the Delta. They are getting ready to conduct their fourth, it's the DISC team, but the DISC Symposium. And it's going to be on December 15th. The save the date announcement just went out. It will be virtual. But this symposium is going to focus very much on early detection and rapid response for new invasive species. So we know the Delta is already heavily invaded, and we know that we can anticipate new species coming in. So it's trying to get all the agencies aligned to, as best possible, detect invasions early and then respond early while populations are still controllable. So the hope is that the feedback that's received from the symposium will help inform the development of an early detection rapid response management plan for the Delta. The last item I wanted to highlight is an upcoming program and opportunity for Delta landowners to be compensated for providing some flooded habitat here in the fall. So we're partnering with the Stewardship, with the Nature Conservancy, Point Blue, and Audubon Society, and they're going to run what's called a bird returns program. It's a reverse auction style program that's been very successful in the Upper Valley. Given the severity of the drought and the expected lack of habitat for wading birds and waterfowl this year, the program is hoping to be able to create additional acres of flooded land in the October and November, in the November timeframe this year. So in the near term, the next 2 weeks, there'll be information coming out, and hopefully we're going to help try to widely disseminate that information that lists the criteria and what the program is looking for. Landowners can then essentially create a bid and say, how many acres they can flood up and to what depth and for how long. And then ultimately say, how much they would like to be compensated per acre for doing that. And that will be essentially a bid process, and the team will select bids and then hopefully get some land flooded up in the near term. Again, just to hopefully you can help the folks that you connect with in the Delta understand that is an opportunity that'll be coming out in the fall. We will make sure that Erik distributes information hopefully on the program within the next couple of weeks. I think with that, I'll stop there, and certainly happy to entertain any questions you all might have.
Great. Thanks again, Campbell. Okay, turn to commission members. Questions?
Yes, we have Commissioner Vogel.
Yes, Commissioner Vogel, Nancy.
Thank you, Chair Nottoli, and thank you, Campbell. My question, well, first I just want to say thank you for working on the bird retreats program or returns program, excuse me, and for trying to be nimble and creating habitat where possible in this drought for what I understand is a bumper crop of birds in Canada and Alaska winging their way here. But my question is a simple one. I didn't catch the date for the Delta Interagency Invasive Species Symposium.
Yeah, it will be on December 15th.
December 15th, thank you.
And I can share information. I should have had it loaded up to add in the chat, but I can share that with DPC and they can distribute that too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks, Campbell. Others?
Commissioner Slater.
Yes, Mr. Slater. Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Campbell, I just have a quick question without going into the weeds of that program that Nancy just referenced. How will perception be without a lot of people knowing how these projects work? And I'm a little bit familiar with the ones up north. In a drought where where water agencies and the water board are advocating conserving water in the Delta, where we don't have a place to create a water bank or to add to a water bank. We have water table. Give me a little help how that's written up without taking up too much time.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important point. There's definitely going to be perception issues with flooding habitat in a severe drought. I will say we've reached out to the Delta Water Master, Michael George, and had a conversation about the specifics of the curtailments that are happening in the Delta. And the expectation is that there will not be a conflict with those curtailments, particularly because we're getting on the shoulder of diversion season for agriculture. And so the expectation is that the Delta is a good place to provide this habitat because it is low in the system, where it might be more challenging to do the same further up. And then again, just given the sort of the very dire reality of extremely limited flooded habitat, I think the expectation is that we should move forward, but I do think there is that perception that we need to be aware of and carefully craft message around.
Yeah, I would agree. One day I go to a meeting and telling people how to conserve water and not use it. And then this program comes on that has a lot of benefit. So I agree with the program. I'm trying to figure out a way to satisfy both parties. So we'll just work on that.
Yeah, if you have further ideas, please do share them.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, other commissioners?
There are no hands raised.
Stacy. How about members of the public?
And no hands raised there either.
But it doesn't have the hand ability, want to weigh in?
I've got a question for Campbell.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Conover.
Yeah, I went to the Delta Stewardship Council meeting before the COVID was called, and the Public Policy Institute of California had a fellow there from Stanford, professor, who called Campbell Ingram's well-negotiated projects of a set of necklace of pearls through the Delta for habitat areas to have been mere gardening projects, and calling for massive flooding. And I wanted to find out if that had so insulted Campbell or his board that they were going to respond with some big initiative that would go in that direction.
Well, I guess I would respond by saying certainly we weren't insulted. I think there's always been a perception that to have significant effect in improving the ecological function of the Delta, that we do need to be focused on large projects, large scale restoration. Of course, we're always talking about working with willing landowners and trying to make sure that those projects are compatible with existing uses in the Delta where possible. Certainly the Conservancy's, that's always how we work. Given the amount of funding that we have received, our ability to do large projects is somewhat limited. So we've tried to put that money to really good use. My counter to that is that all the species that are in peril in the Delta have really died a death by 1,000 cuts. We've changed the habitat, the food supply, the way water moves, and having a lot of Band-Aids on 1,000 cuts is at least a start. And so I do think that we're adding real value. But I think there is a real expectation that to really turn the system around, we do need to look at larger scale restoration projects. I hope that helps answer your question.
Yeah, it kind of fuels my fear that you're going to go on a sudden acceleration toward those and start running over people with eminent domain, like has been happening by Rio Vista on lands my great grandfather had farmed on Liberty Island and Hastings Tract and those others by Main Prairie, and potential for that to have been established as a precedent, and that the Delta Protection Commission endorsed that. And whether it eats it the way at the edges or it works its way up here suddenly is something that we're kind of worried about and would like to make sure we get involved in or maybe get even trained in how we can interact with that in a positive way.
I guess I can alleviate your concern to some extent. I mean, we are precluded by statute from exercising eminent domain at the Delta Conservancy. And I know that the revision of Chapter 4 for the Delta Stewardship Council's Delta Plan, which is the ecosystem chapter, specifically talks about working with only willing landowners moving forward. So, and one other thing I'll mention, and this will probably be a future presentation to the Delta Protection Commission, but they're looking at establishing the potential of establishing a restoration subcommittee. And we've encouraged at least quarterly meetings with the broader Delta community to bring the community in frequently and early to discuss restoration concepts, so that the feedback that community members have always felt comes too late after the CEQA process, there's a forum where that feedback can actually be directly provided early on and just in early discussions about projects. And we think projects will benefit from that, as well as just the increased transparency will be good. So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks, Campbell. Thanks for the question, Matt. We obviously a continuing conversation, but appreciate the response and questions as well. So, okay, let me. Nothing further there. Any other commission member or member of the public? Again, it's getting a little long.
No hands are raised.
All right, very good. Okay, well, again, thank you, Campbell, for the presentation. Thank you for our commenters and questions from commission as well as the public. And with that, we, unless we have anything further from the commission, we'll just receive those reports. They were verbal in nature. There was some information shared, and look forward to a time, again, not get too distant future when we can, once again, have a presentation. So, okay. Then we're going to keep moving down our agenda. And so with that, we'll leave item 9, and there's no action required. Go to item 10, which is the report on the 2021 Delta Flood Preparedness activities. And it has an accompanying resolution relative to Delta Flood Preparedness Week. So I'll turn to Erik, I believe, for the presentation. And
actually, I'll turn it right over to our information officer, Stacy Hayden. But I did want to announce that during that last agenda item, Commissioners Villegas and Bush had to leave the meeting. So they're no longer on the meeting, but just wanted to announce that and now turn it over to Stacy.
Thank you. We still have a quorum, Craig. We still have a quorum, though.
We do.
Okay.
We still have 10 members.
Okay, very good. Okay, thanks, Erik. Stacy, sorry, I didn't mean to go right over top of you.
That's
you're
okay.
on.
I have multiple hats today. So
yes, you are.
Thank you, Chair Nottoli, and thank you, commissioners. So as many of you know, every year in October, we host the Delta Flood Preparedness Week towards the end of October. And during that week, we do a number of projects and activities to really spread the word about awareness and preparedness throughout the communities in the 5 Delta counties. This year, I'm excited to announce a brand new project that we are working on. This project is really going to lay a foundation for our future efforts for Flood Week, but also it's going to lay the foundation for us to continue to support flood awareness and preparedness throughout the Delta throughout the entire year. We're currently working on developing a brand new website. It's going to be at deltafloodready.com. It's currently not live yet, but it will be for Flood Week. So that's going to be our major project and announcement for Delta Flood Preparedness this year, is sharing a campaign to really start to promote this website. We're working on some other projects that will help in future years as well, including getting some designs for some evergreen banners that we can put into some of the smaller legacy communities, and then more projects that we can build on for the website. I'm going to share you a mock-up just to give you an idea of the direction that we're going with this website. The idea behind deltafloodready.com, because there is a lot of course, flood information and flood awareness and preparedness resources that are out there, but to really compile them and also to make them more specific to the needs of the communities within the Delta specifically. So we are going to have links for people to understand the risks, to find out if they're going to be, or if they're in a floodplain. We're going to have a flood ready 101 section. This is really going to focus on ways people can be family ready, pet ready, property ready, farm ready, business ready, ways specifically that they can be ready for as members who live and work in the Delta. And then we're going to have Delta County specific services all in one place. So people can easily access offices of emergency services, phone numbers, any evacuation maps online that counties may have, all the various alert systems, as well as other information specific to the Delta counties as well. And then we're going to have another big area for lots of resources, including K through 12 education, getting access to weather, river conditions, information on reclamation districts and flood insurance, emergency kits, just a whole variety of resources. And again, tailoring to the needs that we're aware of for the Delta public. And so we do have some branding for this. We've been creating branding that has some alignment with Visit CA Delta. So we also have a new logo for Delta Waterway Cleanup, and they all kind of share some elements and colors. So we're really trying to develop like this consistent clarity and consistency in our communications across various projects. So when people come to the website, they'll be able to quickly see the resources that are offered to them. This text here is just filler text. Again, this is just a mock-up to give you an idea of where we're going here. And we'll also be able to share flood preparedness events. So as things start to open up more and more in the coming years, and we go back to us possibly having in-person events, as well as other events that happen in all 5 Delta counties. There's events, for instance, in Sacramento County for Delta Flood Preparedness coming up. We'll be able to share all of those kinds of things on the website as well. So we're really excited about this because it's going to be something that can continue to be shared, again, as I said, throughout the year. And as every new project is developed, we're always going to have this robust website to filter people back to, whether we're doing radio ads, doing events, sending out brochures, they're all going to be able to link back to here. And eventually we'll be able to hopefully grow this out more and more over time as well. So again, look for that during Delta Flood Preparedness Week. Now we are looking to host Delta Flood Preparedness Week in coordination with the overall state effort, which is California Flood Preparedness Week. And this year, California Flood Preparedness Week is running from October 23rd through 30th of 2021. So I am asking the commission today to adopt resolution 21-01 declaring October 23rd through 30th, 2021 to be Delta Flood Preparedness Week. Those are my updates and my requests.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Well, let me ask commission members before we take up the action item, any comments, questions, thoughts on what Stacy presented or any ideas?
I don't have any hands raised.
Oh, sorry. Takes a
There,
while.
Diane, Commissioner Burgess.
Would you mind sending that resolution to me? And I would imagine some of my other colleagues would like to recognize that on the county levels.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, following the meeting, we'll get that all official on the resolution form and get that out promptly.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we ask members of the public on the presentation and the resolution. I'll just call for any public comments on what we're going to call for as far as a motion in a moment. So any public commenters?
No hands raised.
Okay. Anybody on the phone that can't raise their hand? All right. Hearing none, seeing none, then we'll Our thanks to Stacy and staff for their good work on this. We have a resolution, so a motion would be in order if the commission desires to move this forward. We have a motion to approve the resolution.
Yes, I move the motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Vogel. Second?
Commissioner Slater will second.
Right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have a commenter? Stacy, I saw somebody's name pop up on the screen. No? No.
I'm not seeing anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll call that Commissioner Slater with the second.
Okay, all right. You're the referee today. Okay, very good. Okay, we have a motion, and a second, and to approve resolution as presented in the packet, been available to the public. Resolution number 21-01. I guess it's the first one we're doing this year. So, and if there's nothing further, then I'll call for a roll call vote. Stacy?
Good. Chair Nottoli,
Aye.
Vice Chair Wynn,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgess,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuller,
Aye.
Commissioner Nakanishi, okay, we'll come back. Commissioner Paroli,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater,
Aye.
Commissioner Agar,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Aye.
and coming back around to Commissioner Nakanishi. Okay, Chair Nottoli, we have 9 yeses, 0 nos, 0 abstains, and 1 commissioner unable to answer.
So the resolution's been approved. Again, thank you for all the effort that goes in behind it. There's a lot of good words there to encourage folks, but I think it also involves a lot of effort at coordinating certainly through the commission, but at the local level. So thank you for that. All right. And we're going to move into a closed session. And I trust this will probably be about a half hour, give or take. And we will, once we will move to closed session and then reconvene an open session for close of the meeting and announce any action if there is any to be announced out of the session. So with that, any questions by commissioners before we do this? Stacy, you'll help move everybody over, is that correct? And then
I will be moving non-commission members and anybody who's not supposed to be in the closed session, I'll be moving over into the waiting room.
okay, all right. I guess I need to note that, just put this in the record, the commission will be moving to the closed session as noted, based on government code section 11126 sub A sub 1 for the purpose of conducting an executive director performance evaluation. Meeting participants are welcome to remain in the Zoom, as Stacy has noted, waiting room until the closed session ends, at which time it says they, but you will be readmitted to the main meeting room. The chair will then announce any action taken in closed session prior to the adjournment of the meeting. So don't mean to be redundant, but I want to make sure that was in the record. So, okay, with that, and I believe in addition to commission members, we'll have certainly Executive Director Vink and also our counsel, Carlos Mejia, in the waiting room too. So, okay, with that then, Stacy, unless there's any commission questions about what we're going to do, you can push the magic button and move us over. And
okay.
Okay, with that, I think we have, yes, we have the people that were in the waiting room have rejoined the meeting, Mr. Chair.
okay, thank you. Just to reestablish for open session the quorum, Stacy, could you call the roll real quickly? We've been in session, but I want to be sure make sure we still have enough commissioners to session.
Yeah, there. At this point, you wouldn't need any a quorum to take any action, but Yeah, actually, Stacy left the meeting. I told her she could leave the meeting.
Okay, all right. Well, so we do.
yeah,
Okay, we reconvene.
Yeah, we have 9 commissioners present, Mr. Chair, but we're not anticipating any formal action from
Right.
here to adjournment. So-
Okay, thank you. I would just then report out that we, as announced going into closed session, we did talk about the performance evaluation review for the executive director, and no further action was taken. So that is the announcement. And with that, then I'm going to come back to the commission for any closing comments. If not, we're at the end of the agenda, so we're going to go to adjournment here in just a moment. So any other items? Announcements? All right. If not, then I want to thank our commission members, our staff, and certainly the members of the public who've been with us this evening, all those that commented, all those that followed the meeting. And we are going to stand in adjournment. We'll come back into session November 18th, 2021. Same place, I guess, Zoom, the same time. Hopefully we're going to get to a point where we can actually convene in session, but we're not there yet. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good rest of your evening. Be safe, and see you back soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Night.